We're here in the hire space at Wolverhampton Art Gallery with the artist David Bethell. David is 2 weeks into a 3-week mini residency which has been organised through the Artist Development Programme run by Turning Point West Midlands and the New Art Gallery Walsall. David, first of all, can you explain a bit about why you wanted to apply for the residency here?
I was really interested in this residency because of the Victorian and Georgian collection at the gallery. I knew it had a really strong collection in them two areas, but also I was really interested in exploring new avenues for my practice, and I thought I could do this through the Geology collection. It's something that I've never really thought about before, or thought about how geology could kind of influence my work, and I just saw it as a new way to explore something different and something new. So that was definitely a big pull towards my decision in kind of applying for the residency. I'd also been to the gallery before and had a look at the collections that are on show to the general public, and I was really taken with the Victorian and Georgian collections last time I came to the gallery. So again, I knew that I wanted to be here at the gallery, and a lot of my previous practice had kind of explored Victorian machinery and agricultural machinery based around that time. So there's obvious links really between my practice and the ways ways in which I could explore my practice through the collections basically.
So talk us through the last couple of weeks, what you've been doing here during your residency.
So when I first arrived at the art gallery, I was really excited about the project, to get my teeth into something quite bulky, especially with the weight and the resources that was available. At first I kind of thought I'd have a tangible outcome with it by the end of the 3 weeks. I thought I'd have a finished piece of work, but that idea soon went away after the first week. I kind of met with Chris, who's in charge of the Geology collection, I think on my second day. The first day was just me getting kind of, I was introduced to all the staff and I got to know the gallery and the workings of the gallery, and then the second day I met Chris. And he was a big influence on the residency so far, I suppose because he was the first person I met, but also he was in charge of the Geology collection, which was, as I mentioned earlier, a new area of working, and a new area for me to explore. And he kind of showed me in the Geology collection in the stores downstairs, which is really exciting because I got to go behind the scenes at the gallery. And he kind of showed me all the fossils and the specimens that he had in the gallery, and that were donated to the gallery by Dr. Fraser. And that just kind of, I don't know anything about geology, I'm not a geologist, so I suppose as much as that day and all the days after, it's just been a massive learning curve from all the people that I've kind of met, and then trying to pull together all the information that I've gathered and been given by all the staff and all the generous people that I've met. It's kind of, it's just a massive mapping exercise really, and how to bring it together to make a piece of work. So meeting Chris was really exciting, and I also found out that he has, he's also known as Dr. Fossil, and he gives talks as Dr. Fossil, talking about Dudley and Wolverhampton and how that used to be a tropical environment and deserts, and how it's changed, how the environment has changed and the climate's changed to what it is today. And he also talked about the Dudley bug, which is a trail of light which is famous to the area. So that again is something that I want to have in my work. And I suppose he was the very first person I met, and I knew from meeting Chris that when I met everyone else who I was going to meet, I was going to get a bombardment of information from everyone in order to help me realise or reach a certain point to make new pieces of work. And I think we did a meet after that. I met Heidi at the Archives, which is an amazing building. It's got a room called the Rococo Room, which is a Victorian, Georgian room, and that was really amazing to see because it's listed. It was also amazing to see all the history within the building, from like the birth certificates to the maps. And again, it was just overwhelming in terms of the information that I got from Heidi and the richness and the content within the building. And I was quite surprised, because I think when I first came here, I expected maybe just to kind of see maybe one or two influential people based within the gallery, and then I've been working with Jane, who's kind of been leading the project at the gallery, and she's been really helpful in setting up meetings with key people in the city. So after I met with Heidi, I went to see Sophie at Billiston Craft Gallery, and again a bombardment of information and history. So I think basically, to cut a long story short, the first week just involved me meeting lots of people from Chris, Sophie, Heidi, Helen Bantock, and Rachel, who's also the collection officer here, and also Paul as well. And I've just been given so much information. It's kind of the first 2 weeks, I'm in the third week now, have just been kind of trying to collate my thoughts and how I can kind of map together a piece of work based on all the figures and facts that I've been given, and how I can then kind of make it into a body of work that suits my style of working. So at the moment, my thoughts are kind of becoming a geologist, mountaineer, explorer, based on kind of in the late Victorian period when Dr. Fraser was here. Because I've also later found out that a lot of the buildings are from the same period, and a lot of other influential figures within the city are from that kind of late Victorian period. And again, I've found like paintings, as you can see here, that have been painted at viewpoints of the city. So I'm kind of looking at maybe reframing paintings that I've seen from the collection, and that Rachel's helped me point out, to kind of act as backdrops for me to become this explorer geologist with makeshift geology equipment, from compasses to surveying equipment. And that's kind of, I suppose, my first 2 weeks and what I've done so far during the residency.
You said that when you started the residency, you thought you might have a tangible outcome at the end of it, but now having realised that that's not going to happen, how do you see the residency informing your work in future? Do you see it as informing it long term, or do you see it as just working for one project?
It's an interesting question. I think definitely at the beginning of the residency, I thought I would have a finished piece of work by the end of the 3 weeks, but yeah, that's not going to happen because of all the research and information that I've been given. I think I now see this 3-week period basically as a planning and research 3 weeks. So basically, it's going to help me form a new piece of work when I leave the gallery space. So I think the initial output will be one piece of work based on all the research that I've gathered and collated, which will take the form, or probably take the form of a performance of a geologist, an explorer, and kind of going into 3 separate areas, so Staffordshire, where I'm from, and also where Dr. Fraser went to explore, Wolverhampton, because the gallery is based here, and this is predominantly where I kind of gathered all my information, and also hence Dr. Fraser as well in his geology collection, and that reference. And also Wales, because a lot of artists and as Dr. Fraser were also influenced by North Wales and the coastal scenes and the landscape, because it's so picturesque and can be, well, was often painted in such a kind of romantic way. So yeah, the piece will involve me being a performer, a geologist, but also will survey the area using Victorian techniques and Victorian equipment, such as the compass, and also doing drawings and using the triangular sort of mapping systems as well. After that, I'm not really sure how much the work will progress after that. I mean, I always look back when I produce a new piece of work, try and look back at my previous work and see where it can go. So yeah, ultimately it will have an effect on my next piece of work after that, because I will kind of look at the piece of work that I've produced and evaluate it and see, and kind of look at maybe the strengths, or maybe just pull out some key features or key elements from the piece of work that I'm yet to make, and see how that can maybe influence further work. But again, like I said, I think at the beginning, I said looking at this geology was definitely a new avenue that I wanted to explore, and I will do, and it will inform the next piece of work. So there might be something that I've kind of come across within further research that will help me to generate ideas for further work afterwards. So I think, yeah, it will definitely help me to make a new piece of work, but also help me afterwards. But you're never kind of sure, I suppose, until you get to that point in time.
So we stood by one of your previous works from 2011. What can you tell us about this and how it relates to your practice?
So this piece of work is called Shadows on the Sun, and yeah, it was produced in 2011, and it was produced really for a site-specific piece of work in Margate, and it was at the time when Turner Contemporary had just kind of opened. So I kind of wanted, I say site-specific, I wanted to kind of make a piece of work that was in reference to, I suppose, well, Turner, and his biggest influence for his paintings is light. So I kind of did further research into how I could kind of make, I suppose, a new take on landscape, and also how I can maybe use light within the piece of work. So yeah, this is a machine that I've created based on a Georgian Victorian sunspotter, which allows basically scientists to plot sunspots and the movement of sunspots on the sun over a period of time. So usually kind of, I think, maybe 10 to 12 years. And well, not just for this piece. Beforehand, I was making a lot of other functional machines that were made out of kind of wood, I suppose made in a makeshift way. And they do function. So for instance, with the sunspotter, this can move 360. It's kind of pivots on marbles, and base is kind of, the weight of the sunspotter is just trapped within that base. And then you've got a sandbag that kind of acts as a counterbalance. And the idea is, with the sunspotter, you point the telescope at the sun, so the sun then gets projected into this kind of black box, and then you'll have like a circle of the sun, and then you'll be able to kind of see little spots on the sun, hence the kind of name for the machine Sunspotter, and the title of my work, Shadows on the Sun. I suppose I kind of make the machines in this kind of way to give them a kind of, I suppose, an old look. I don't kind of, they are kind of, I suppose, roughly assembled or roughly kind of put together, so it's got that kind of authentic sort of museum sort of look, but also so they can still function. And maybe with some of the other works, they become a bit anthropomorphic, and they develop, I suppose, a life of their own until they've kind of fulfilled their function. And I suppose with the filming of this piece, which is on the film, you kind of get a really, it has to be on a bright summer's day, and you get the backdrop of the sea, and I suppose you get this kind of really romantic and poetic landscape. So it's not just about the machine, it's about the machine and the environment in which it sits. So it's, yeah, the viewer sees me dressed as a Victorian scientist and the machine, and then the backdrop of the landscape. So it's, yeah, it's about me, the machine, and the landscape, and how they all interact. I suppose I'm kind of maybe interested in reframing or making, I suppose, a picturesque or a romantic painting, much like the Victorians would have done. So how they kind of embellish happiness or pretty things in a way, and how this kind of relates to the research that I've been carrying out at Wolverhampton Art Gallery during the residency is, again, looking at Victorians and paintings, and I suppose what composition makes a really kind of a Victorian painting. So often they featured seascapes, pictures of mountains or hills or windmills, or the countryside, rolling hills, and cows, prize bulls, that kind of thing. Whereas I suppose the Georgian period was much more real life. They kind of painted more mundane situations. So I suppose how that influences my current research is that I'm kind of, yeah, interested in, I suppose, the late period of the Victorian period, and when Dr. Fraser was here in Wolverhampton, and kind of, I suppose, embellishing some of the stories that I've come across, and also filming it again, so it's in this kind of picturesque setting. One of the stories that I came across was that Chris mentioned to me about the Dudley bug, the trilobite, but miners used to make their own Dudley bugs or craft their own, and then sell them to rich people to make more money, because they actually got more money from the fake Dudley bug that they had crafted than they did from their own wages when they used to go in the mines. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, I suppose, a little bit. And I quite like, I don't know, I feel quite attached to these machines now. Yeah, I think they develop a life, I suppose, over time, which again, I suppose, is maybe a nice link to, I suppose, essentially, well, geology.
So you've still got a few days left here at the gallery, but once you head out of our doors, when do you think we'll see the finished work?
I think when I head out, it's going to be a scary place. I envision, yeah, I think this work, because of all the research and all the people that I've met and have helped me, which I can't thank enough. I think this could actually be one of my most ambitious pieces of work because of all the influences and all the information that have gone into the project. And I think that is one of the benefits of a residency, because you get, I've got time to spend, well, I've had 3 weeks to spend in this space or meeting people that work in the area, and that's a massive benefit, because if you kind of, I suppose, working by yourself or in your studio, you don't have that connection with other people or other influences or other people that you haven't met before. So for me, I've been travelling from sort of Staffordshire moorlands to Wolverhampton, meeting people that I haven't met before and seeing new buildings or new paintings, just learning so much, and you just don't get that if you're in your studio. You just kind of you can only do so much research, I think, and you don't get that concentrated time on research that I have here. So in terms of which, again, like I mentioned earlier, that the whole timescale, or my preconceived idea of what my timescale before I got here completely changed, and now I think I'm going to kind of have a finished piece of work by maybe the end of the summer. I know I'm coming back in July to give a talk and to kind of show my progress with the work, which I'm looking forward to. But I also think, I don't think that's going to be enough time either. I also think I might have to come back maybe in October or November sometime to kind of show the actual finished piece of work, because I do think it could be a really ambitious piece of work. And I also think, because the staff and all the people that I have met at the gallery are really friendly and really helpful, I'm really confident that I can maintain the links in order for me to help make my most ambitious piece of work.